Good morning. The sun rising on the last day of 2025, a year that ends poorly for our Prime Minister, Mr Albanese. It's hard now to say Albo, isn't it? Sounds way too friendly. Reminds me of times after the bushfire and around the time of Robodebt when Mr Morrison became that rather than ScoMo. When you start losing your nickname, you're in trouble. And politically, the Prime Minister deserves to be. It's just hard to understand for a first-rate, astute politician, and that's what he is. You don't become Prime Minister unless you are. How he's made such a first-rate hash out of the very important national response to the uniquely horrible events at Bondi Beach. But he has. He was out there again yesterday rationalising his support for the limited inquiry, saying he'd consulted real experts. Well, who are these real experts? He won't tell us. And they haven't come forward with their names attached. Meantime, hundreds of real experts in their fields are coming forward explaining exactly why we need to have a wide-ranging Royal Commission. One of them is Peter Jennings, who in the area of national security and others is nearly without peer. He's outstanding. He writes in the Australian newspaper today, the Albanese government's independent review into the performance of federal law enforcement and intelligence agencies, and I quote, in the context of the Bondi terrorist attack, is a woefully inadequate response. And then he goes on in great detail to explain why. And it just struck me as ironic in a sense, as I was thinking about the last time I felt so angry about political leadership. It was probably Robodebt, which I mentioned a minute ago, which was a horrible, insidious policy aimed at your fellow Australians. And any government that presided over that, and it was the Morrison government at the time, had no business being in power, and they were thrown out in 2022. Again, ironically, Mr Albanese supported the Royal Commission into Robodebt correctly, but now won't support a Royal Commission into the murder of 15 innocent people. And in the limited terms of inquiry, there's no mention of anti-Semitism, and there's no mention of hate speech, no mention of all the kinds of things we need to come to terms with as a country if we were to understand the environment that fostered the kinds of things that allowed the events at Bondi Beach to happen. It's terrible, really, isn't it? Mr Albanese should think back to what Bob Hawke might have done. Bob Hawke, one of our great politicians, a Labor Prime Minister, elected in 1983, won in 84, 87 and 90, and Paul Keating took over. They were giants, Bob Hawke, Paul Keating, John Howard. But Bob Hawke once said, you should never underestimate the great common sense of the Australian people. Mr Albanese should take that on board because at the moment he's playing us for dills. And you think back to Hawke, Keating and Howard, they were the days when giants roamed the land. Today we're governed by pygmies. Have a great day and a very happy new year.